Well, good afternoon, everyone. Yes, it is afternoon here in India, where I am currently. I was previously in the Western Ghats, and now I'm in dear old Bangalore, in a urban forest, which is really beautiful. Just lacks the wildlife and, of course, the snakes. I want to relate to you a story which is disturbing. It's disturbed me for years. Now and again I think about this story, and it doesn't leave a great taste in my mouth. These are true tales of my African adventures. May this inspire you, deter you, caution you, and above all, entertain you. So, as you know, we had an organization which gave into snake shows, reptile shows all around the country. These were educational by nature. So we would talk about conservation and ecology, how to avoid snakes, how to treat snake bite in an elementary way, all these things. And they were really, really well attended. Thousands and thousands and many thousands of people attended these shows over the years. And in each part of the country, when I wasn't available, there was always somebody who was a competent snake handler. You had to have a little charisma and be able to speak, of course. Being bilingual in South Africa was good. Afrikaans and English was what was normally meant by bilingual. And of course, you had to, besides being a little bit charismatic and bilingual, you had to have a thorough knowledge of snakes and their habits and be able to handle them all day long, for days on end, without making an error. Because an error in this industry could mean the difference between whether you would see the next day or not. So that's how it worked, that's how it went. And so we carried on with these exhibitions for many years. Well, we had an exhibition that is, once in Cape Town, in a beautiful square called Green Market Square, in the middle of Cape Town. It had beautiful trees growing in it at the time. They probably are still there. And it was paved with cobblestone. And many people used to go there and sit there during lunchtime, walk through it, take a rest there, and so on. Beautiful square. So that square was cordoned off for various exhibitions one year. And we were asked if we would come and set up an exhibition, as the organizers knew us or had seen us before, and we agreed. So we set up the usual enclosure, which was a pit, a four-sided, four-walled structure, about 1.4 to 1.5 meters off the ground, sturdy, so that people could lean against it without it collapsing in on the snakes. And this was called a pit, snake pit. And then in it there would be some branches and some containers with specialty snakes in that we brought to give people an ooh and an ah. And we used to decorate it somewhat. And in this particular pit there was a stump from a tree which had been cut down in Green Market Square, and the stump never removed. And our pit included that as a feature inside it. So the stage was all set, and the show got off to a very good start. Now, as usual, thousands of people came, and there were snakes loose in the pit. There were puff adders in the Cape Town. In Cape Town, the puff adders were usually black and yellow, bright yellow and dark black. I don't know if there is such a thing as dark black, but I guess there is. These puff adders from Cape Town were usually completely mad, and you had to be very careful with them. We also had skarpstekers, which means sheep sticker or sheep killer, although they didn't bite sheep at all. It's just a folklore. And besides the skarpstekers, there were boomslang. They used to climb up and crowd the branches. And boomslang in the Cape are black with yellow bellies, strangely enough, the males. The females are brown. And as I've mentioned before, boomslang have a venom which is so potent that the amount needed to kill you is microscopic. And nothing can save you from a boomslang bite except special boomslang antivenom, which is made specifically for boomslang and is not for sale because they can't make much of it. It remains in the institute, and when it has been confirmed that a boomslang has bitten you, they will release boomslang antivenom, which will be flown to you or whatever, driven to you and so on. A couple of people who I know and have worked with, friends of mine, are the two people who milk boomslang. It is also a specialty job. You can't just milk a boomslang. And the secret in how to milk a boomslang will not be revealed by these operators. Anyway, then there were boomslang, and the most spectacular snakes we had were the Cape Cobras. Now, what a beautiful snake. Can be butter yellow, golden with black speckles on them. They can be almost black, almost a purpley black. They can be brown, a myriad of colors. Quite something to see, all the color varieties. And we had all those color varieties from time to time. They really were fantastic. In fact, there was a family of people on the Cape Flats who were known as Cape Cobra catchers, and they drank a lot too, but they would catch a lot of cobras and bring us a sack full, 20 or 30 of them in a sack. And we would, of course, pay them handsomely for the snakes, and off they would go, buy food and clothing and various things they needed, and end off with a good box of Cape Flats wine. Anyway, these are very venomous cobras. So as beautiful as they are, they're as deadly. About 15 times more potent is their venom than the average cobra in southern Africa and beyond. Very, very potent snake. Now, puff adders used to kill more people in southern Africa, than any other snake. Well, the Cape Cobra has taken this position now, because rural tribal folk who have come from outlying areas to the economic migrants really looking for work would come and squat on vacant land around Cape Town and build their shacks literally on top of the burrows that these snakes were living in. And so, of course, the snakes they were kind of trapped, had nowhere to go, and started biting people, and have taken over the position of number one killer by snake of man in southern Africa. And whereas the puff adder takes a long time to kill you, the venom that is, the Cape Cobra kills you in a far shorter period. Now, I will tell you about a story which involved me and a Cape Cobra bite, a story which I dislike very much. I never told anyone about this story. In fact, the first person I told was my wife, and that wasn't very long ago. I never told the story. I just don't like the story. It's a terrible story. I'll tell you about it one day. Anyway, show got off to a good start, and it was well attended. I was working on a crocodile farm at the time in the north of Pretoria, which used to be the capital, or still considered the capital of South Africa by many. And so I couldn't attend, and a chap, I'll call him Phil, that's short for his full name. I don't want to speak about him and give his surname, etc., because he doesn't know I'm doing this video today. Anyway, Phil was competent. He a reasonably good-looking chap. He had some charisma. He knew snakes well, and he could speak well. So he fitted the profile. And so the show proceeded. Now there was a Cape Cobra in that pit that used to curl up on the stump, and the stump was about a foot high, which brought it closer to the top of the edge of the pit. And people loved looking at it, and it wasn't perturbed at all. It used to just lie there curled up. It was nice and shady on the hot summer days. One day, as he looked up, a man barged through the crowd, so to speak, and thumped against the edge of the pit and kind of stood there staring at him. And he wasn't quite sure, but after a few minutes he realized the man was drunk. And he would normally have chased him off, except he was kind of busy with the demonstration, and after the demonstration he would have gone and asked him to leave. The man, what he did next was not anticipated. He leant over, pivoted on the edge of the wall of the pit on his stomach, and then lunged downwards and grabbed the Cape Cobra in his hand, and then stood back upright again, holding the cobra up into the air, sending people scattering all around the place around him. The cobra retaliated and bit him, a full bite on his hand, injecting enough venom to kill many people. This was a cobra that had been in captivity for some time, so it was in perfect condition, full venom glands, in peak condition, and so it would have had a lot of venom. And when it bit him, it did what cobras generally do: they hang on and they really give it stick. They inject a lot of venom. They hold on and do that. So he then got a fright, which he ought to have, and he tried to throw it back in the pit, and it was dangling from his hand for a minute or two. Not a minute or two, that's far too long. It was probably just a few seconds. And then it fell off him, detached from his hand, and fell back into the pit. So everyone was shocked, because we know what's coming next. Full bite from Cape Cobra like that, and you are in very, very serious trouble and in need of expert help immediately if you to survive. Well, the man disappeared into the crowd. Phil got someone to watch the exhibition, and he went with others and involved security guards to go and find this man. And they looked and they searched. They went into buildings nearby, into the basements, into the foyers, into the stairwells, the alleyways, the dumpster areas where all the trash was thrown. They looked everywhere, could not find him. They searched for hours. They just could not find him. They never did find him. It was just incredible. And what happened is, he would have gone into a coma somewhere, and he would have laid down, gone into unconsciousness and into a coma, and slowly died. And can you imagine that? You're drunk and now you're dying, and nobody to help you, and nobody could find you to help you. It's a terrible thing. Even when they phoned the hospitals, police stations, nobody could trace them. Our guess was, well, let me tell you first, there's a phenomenon in Cape Town, a group of people called bergies. A berg is a mountain or a large hill. A bergie is someone who will live in the mountains or at the foot of the mountains. And the bergies in Cape Town are a group of people who have become known for drinking. People like this develop, they sort of leave society and end up in this condition where they drink methylated spirits, they drink alcohol, anything they can get which will intoxicate them, and they drink until they pass out, and their pathetic short lives are just lived around the periphery of the city, where they beg for money and then buy alcohol and drink until, as I say, they inevitably pass out, and they, generally speaking, have a short life. So whoever found the corpse of this person, and I know it would have been a corpse, because nobody was going to survive that bite. Would have thought he was possibly just another burgie and just taken him off to the morgue for processing. We guess that is what happened. Now, not only did I get that phone call, which I had to process, a couple of days later I get the next phone call, which is Phil having been hit by a puff adder, full bite. And his arm, I got photographs of his arm, which looked absolutely terrible. I am absolutely surprised he did not lose his arm. If you could see the photographs, if you look at the photographs where arms have been opened up to relieve the pressure, to stop them from splitting open after puff adder bites, you will be appalled. You shouldn't have a look. And that's what his arm looked like. He did recover, but his arm, of course, was never the same again and looked pretty awful. It was a real mess. So, of all the phone calls I've received in my life, those are two of the ones I never want to receive again.